So today is Wednesday the 30th of December and I've realised I still have a bit of a way to go before I'm done with my December TBR. In regards to manga, I have been reading Sweat and Soap like obsessively. When I made my December TBR, I had volumes 1 to 3. I then ordered volume 4, which I haven't started yet, and then volume 5 is arriving tomorrow. I'm completely addicted to this series. I think I've got this much to go in volume 3. I'm really taking my sweet time with this. I still have quite a bit on my TBR. You would have seen in the beginning. I kind of just did a quick scan of my shelf, but I think just to be realistic, I better just get Sweat and Soap out of my system and finish that first. I'm trying to be realistic in how I approach this backlog here, but I did make a promise to myself. I was gonna stick to my reading goals for the end of the year, and it's the 30th. I've got like no time left and all this manga to read. I need to get a move on, but I've been so hooked on Sweat and Soap, I think I need to also be realistic and just know that I need to finish the volumes I've got, get it out of my system, and I can move on to the next thing. And just to kind of keep myself on track, I kind of set myself a reading goal to read everything in order in how I've placed it on my shelf. So I'm gonna get a move on with Dorohedoro. I've got volumes 1 and 2, and then Komi Can't Communicate. This should be an easy read just because of the format. It's not really heavy on the plot the way Dorohedoro is. It's like gag a day format. So I should make some progress with this. So there's 2 more novels on my TBR. There's The White Boy Shuffle and Captive Prince, and I'm just not going to set myself to any kind of deadline for those. I'm going to stick to the manga on my TBR and just see how much I can read before New Year's Day. So I'm not going to be ridiculous like how I was when I was reading Earthlings, and it took me like a week and a half because I was just so distracted. I'm going to try and read at least half of the manga on my shelf before the year is up. But yeah, we'll revisit this footage and see if I actually managed to do that. But yeah, back to Sweat and Soap. Happy New Year! Hi again. At the time I'm recording this, we're already like a week into the new year, and I think last time I recorded I said I had a reading goal in terms of my manga TBR to complete by the end of 2020. It's the 11th, and obviously that hasn't happened because this is me we're talking about. Also, volume 5 from Sweat and Soap came in the mail, so I was binge reading volumes 3 and 4, and I kind of pushed everything to the side, but I thought I'd better exercise some self-restraint, and I just moved volume 5 to the end of my current TBR on my shelf. But Today is my last day of annual leave. I go back to work tomorrow, but I'm going to limit screen time during my breaks and after work, and I'm going to focus on reading. So these are the manga I'm planning to read next week. Blue Period, Komi Can't Communicate, Fly Me to the Moon, volumes 1 and 2 of Dorohedoro, and Spy Family. So yeah, we'll see how I get on with that. Also, I'm trying to catch up on One Piece. I'm currently on chapter 506. So I'm still in Sabo de Archipelago. My initial goal for that as well, I've obviously flopped. It was to be caught up before I went back to work. And going back to work, and I'm still hundreds of chapters behind, so obviously that flopped. And then my next goal was to be caught up by the end of January. So we'll see in it. But yeah, see you. So hi, I'm back. It's March 2021, and because it's me, you've probably guessed that I haven't read everything on my December manga TBR. I have a few excuses. The biggest one being that trying to edit videos on my potato laptop was hell. The next one being that I just wasn't feeling it, partly because of that, but also because of just like life. And the next reason being that even after I got my mojo back and I was feeling it and I wanted to carry on making videos and edit and all of that, my laptop decided to just die on me. But that's all in the past now. It's been solved. I've got a new PC. I can edit with no hassle now, so I'm looking forward to just getting back to it. I feel like a bit of a dickhead for even having this whole like introduction to this part of the video, because I have like what, 3 videos on my YouTube channel, like whatever, get over yourself. But yeah, I'm back, and I had all that footage from December and January that you would have seen up until this part. So I thought to just wrap it up so I'd have an excuse to actually do something with that footage. And also, before I decided to sit down and record this part of the video, I realized that even though I kind of flopped my December manga reading goals, I actually have been reading quite a bit up until this point. So yeah, I'm just gonna get into it. So one of the first manga volumes in my TBR was Dorohedoro, and I did manage to read these 2 volumes. If you know anything about Dorohedoro, if you've watched the anime, if you've read the manga yourself, you know it's a fantastic series. And yeah, it's a whole lot of fun. And like, these volumes aren't as big as other, and just in terms of pages anyway, as other manga in my TBR, but there's already just so much content and plot and story and character and world building packed into these 2 volumes. Like, Kyu Hayashida is a masterful storyteller, so I'm really looking forward to kind of reading Dorohedoro. This has been really fun so far. I did also read The Way of the House Husband. Again, this is a really fun manga, and we are getting the anime soon. I believe it's either spring or summer this year. Don't want to be too hasty to judge, but if you have seen the trailers for the anime, it doesn't seem as promising, but again, you know, I don't want to judge too soon. But either way, the manga is great, so I'm going to carry on reading these. I also have volumes 2 and 3 on my shelf, so this is just a manga I will be reading in between the other like heftier volumes. I've got some more manga on my TBR that the stories are a bit heavier, it's a bit more lore and stuff, so this would be something to just give me a break in between those stories when I just want something different. Another manga from my TBR was Komi Can't Communicate, and I actually got halfway through this. I can see where I've dog-eared the manga, and I just had to put it down because I wasn't enjoying it, and I realized I was forcing myself to keep going just for the sake of having finished a volume. This was really a shame. I was really looking forward to reading this. I think what made me put this down was the fact that the format of the story, it is that kind of like Gag a Day format, similarly to Where the House Husband, but each gag or short story. It's in sequential order, so there is kind of like a overarching plot that's going on here, but it had all, like, on paper this is like a manga I would love. The protagonist, she's socially anxious, she doesn't have to communicate with people, you know, it's relatable, and then she makes a friend who's determined to help her through her issues and help her get better at communicating with people and make friends. It just seems like something that was going to be really sweet, and it was at certain parts, but I think it's intended to be a comedy manga first and foremost, and unfortunately the comedy falls flat in my opinion. I couldn't even make it past halfway, so yeah, that's volume 1. I'm not going to be reading volume 2, and even if I was on the fence, my teaming backlog makes the decision for me, so yeah, I dropped Komi Can't Communicate. Next on my TBR, I obviously have Sweat and Soap, and I've actually been quite disciplined of not binging through these, just to pace myself properly, because obviously the manga volumes are still coming out, and I don't want to get up to date and then be waiting and twiddling my thumbs for months waiting for the next volume. So I still have volume 5 on my shelf, but I stopped at volume 4. I actually have finished volume 4 technically. There's just an extra short story at the end that I've just left for a rainy day. If you're familiar with me on social media by now, you know how I feel about this manga. I think I still need to make a dedicated video to Sweat and Soap. I love it that much. But yeah, I read these 2 volumes. Spy Family was also on my TBR, and I have been loving this manga. This is the first manga I've read in a while that just made me think like, wow, I can't wait to see this animated, because it really deserves an anime. The potential is there for it to be something really great. What I usually do with manga is, if it's something that's been on my list for a while or on my radar for a while, I'll buy the first volume, and depending on what it's like, I'll either continue reading digitally or I'll collect the volumes. And you know, Spy Family, it's action shonen. I thought, okay, I bought the first volume, I'll read it, and then I'll probably just carry on reading digitally if I do like it. But I've enjoyed this so much, I think I'm gonna start collecting Spy Family, and I don't usually do that for shonen manga, but it's just been so fun. The characters are so lovable. I love every single character. If you don't know anything about Spy Family, I highly recommend it. So it's set in a fictional country called Ostania, which is basically just based on a bunch of different Western European countries in a Cold War era-esque timeline. And the main character is a master spy called Twilight, who has to go on an undercover mission to essentially save the country from an outbreak of a civil war. This assignment involves him having to infiltrate an elite private school to get access to a politician whose son attends the school, and this politician poses a real threat to the peace within the East and West factions of this country. So part of this mission, he has to acquire a child and also a wife, just to give this pretense of a traditional, normal nuclear family in order to infiltrate this academy, gain access to this politician's son, and as a consequence, the politician himself. And so yeah, I feel like this is a great action comedy. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's just a really fun read, and I think it's just one of those manga that you read that definitely deserves the anime treatment, and I don't see why it wouldn't get it, to be honest, and I'm really looking forward to see where the series goes. As I'm recording this, I've got volumes 2 and 3 as well. I actually don't know how many volumes are out, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep buying them and keep reading them. This is a really good manga. And I think I said earlier on in the video, in one of the earlier bits of footage, that I wasn't gonna hold myself to any reading goals in regard to the novels. So I actually didn't start the White Boy Shuffle at all, but I have finished book 1 of the Captive Prince trilogy. I enjoyed it. I felt like not a lot happened in this book in terms of character development, but we did get a lot of world building, and I feel like the groundwork has been laid out for the plot, so this is just the beginning of the story. But I did enjoy it for what it was. It was a lot more I was gonna say a lot more peak than I anticipated. I'm trying to think of another word. It was a lot, and the violent scenes were quite graphic. I wasn't expecting that, and just a lot of darker themes, which I obviously, just going by the synopsis, is to be expected. I kind of just was like, whoa, I didn't realize just how deep it got. But I did enjoy it for what it was. I'm going to read book 2 I think what will cement my opinion of the story so far is whether we get a bit more character development for the protagonists, Damien and Laurent, in book 2, because I really didn't feel that we got that. We kind of did for Laurent, the way he was introduced as kind of like an antagonist or antagonistic character, but seeing as Damon is the narrator, I felt like he was quite a flat character for the most part, but everything else going on was well thought out. It was really great world building. The other side characters were well thought out. The plot itself and like the intrigue and secrecy and like the politics, that was really well done. But I'm just hoping that the characters get developed more in book 2. But I am gonna keep on with this trilogy, and I did enjoy this book. And last but certainly not least, we have Blue Period. This manga, it's a very, very good manga. I'm trying to think of how I can be a bit more eloquent, but honestly, this is just volume 1 that I've read, and I can already tell that this is going to be one of my favorites. It was a really good introduction into a coming of age story. Like right off the bat, each character that is introduced has just been so well thought out and well written that you already so invested in all the characters. This is another manga that's getting an anime adaptation coming out this year, and I absolutely can't wait to see how this story translates to the screen. Like the main character, Yatara's like existential crisis. What is he going to do with his life? Why is he so empty inside, even though he's got a great friendship group? He's doing everything his parents tell him, everything his friends tell him. He's a great student, he's a straight A student. He's doing everything he's meant to be doing, but he feels so empty inside. And he falls in love with art entirely like by accident, with no intention of doing so. And then he faces another crisis of whether he can be so irresponsible as to chase something as fickle as pursuing art when he has all these other responsibilities he has to take care of. It was just really relatable. I have a lot more to say on Blue Period, so I think I'm going to make a dedicated video on this as well. But yeah, read Blue Period. Please read Blue Period. It's really good. So yeah, that's it for this video. I have no excuse to not be consistent on YouTube anymore. I have new equipment, I have a new PC, and I'm officially out of my reading slump. So yeah, expect more videos more consistently than I have been posting. If I do take another break, it won't be as long as the break I took completely on accident that led me to not post for like 3 months. I hope you enjoyed this reading vlog, and I'll see you soon. Bye.